The mining colony of Epsilon 7 floated in space like a metal flower against the darkness. It was not a rich place, but it was home to 3,000 humans who worked hard digging rare minerals from nearby asteroids. Most importantly, it was home to their children. Sarah Chen watched her students work on their science projects in the school's main classroom. The room was bright and full of life, with children's drawings stuck to the walls and plants growing in boxes by the windows that showed the stars outside. 12-year-old Marcus was very excited about his project. He had built a communication device that could send messages across space faster than ever before. "Miss Chen, look, it's working," Marcus called out. His device was broadcasting everything happening in the classroom across human space. It was supposed to be a simple test, but Marcus had somehow made it reach much farther than planned. "That's wonderful, Marcus," Sarah said with a warm smile. She moved between the desks, helping other students with their work. There were 17 children in the classroom today, ages 6 to 14. The youngest, little Anna, was drawing a picture of Earth, a planet she had never seen but dreamed of visiting one day. Far above the colony, ships appeared out of hyperspace. They were not human ships. They belonged to the Krellian hegemony, a powerful empire that controlled 30 star systems. The Krellians looked like large insects that walked on 2 legs with hard shells and multiple arms. They believed they were the strongest species in the galaxy. Commander Vexton stood on the bridge of his warship, looking down at the human colony. His scouts had given him information about the colony's layout. They had marked one building as very important, saying it was probably a military training center because of all the activity inside. "Humans are getting too bold," Vexathon said to his officers. His voice sounded like grinding metal. "They need to learn their place. We will teach them a lesson they won't forget." The Krellians had been angry with humanity for months. Humans had been expanding their mining operations into areas the Krellians wanted for themselves. But instead of talking about it, the Krellians decided to attack. They wanted to scare humans into backing down. "Target the military facility," Vexthon ordered, pointing at the school on their scanning screen. "One strike should be enough to send a message." His weapons officer hesitated. "Commander, our scans show many small heat signatures in that building." "They might be. They are soldiers in training." Vexthon cut him off. "Humans start their military preparation young. Fire." In the classroom, Sarah was helping Anna with her drawing when the first alarm sounded. It was not a drill. She had heard that sound only once before during training. It meant danger was coming. "Everyone under your desks now," Sarah shouted. But she knew it would not be enough. The desks were not made to protect against weapons. Marcus's communication device was still running, still broadcasting. Across human space, millions of people suddenly saw what was happening. Parents on Earth, workers on Mars, soldiers on military stations. They all watched as Sarah and 2 other teachers, Mr. James and Mrs. Rodriguez, pushed the children toward the reinforced corner of the room. The first blast hit the building next to the school. The whole colony shook. Children screamed. Little Anna started crying and Sarah picked her up, holding her tight. It's okay," Sarah whispered, but she knew it was not okay. Through the window she could see the Krellian ships firing their weapons. Mr. James was pushing more children into the corner when he saw the second blast coming straight for them. Without thinking, he threw himself in front of the children. Mrs. Rodriguez did the same thing. Sarah, still holding Anna, turned her back to the window, using her body as a shield. The blast hit. The wall exploded inward. The air rushed out into space. Emergency shields activated, but they were too slow. Mr. James was gone. Mrs. Rodriguez was thrown against the far wall. Sarah felt terrible pain as debris hit her back, but she did not let go of Anna. When the emergency shields finally sealed the breach, 17 children were dead. Sweet Anna, brave Marcus, and 15 others who had come to school that morning to learn and play and grow up. They would never go home again. Sarah lived long enough to see help arrive. With her last breath, she asked, "The children?" The rescue worker could not answer. He just held her hand as she died. Marcus's device kept broadcasting for another 10 minutes before it finally broke. By then, every human in space had seen what happened. They watched their children die. They watched teachers give their lives trying to save them. They watched the Krellian ships fly away, satisfied with their work. On Earth, President Maria Santos was in a meeting when her aide burst through the door. The aide's face was white as paper. Madam President, you need to see this. She watched the video in silence. Around the world, in every city and every home, humans watched together. Parents held their children closer. Soldiers stood frozen at their posts. Even criminals in prison stopped and stared at the screens. When the video ended, there was silence. Not just quiet, but a complete, terrible silence that seemed to fill all of human space. It was the silence of 5 billion hearts breaking at the same time. Then, slowly, something changed. The grief turned into something else. Something cold. Something that had been sleeping in humanity for a very long time was waking up. On Mars, General Chen, Sarah's father, though he did not know yet that his daughter was dead, stood in the military command center. His staff waited for orders. He said only one word: assemble. On Europa Station, the scientists who had been working on banned weapons projects looked at each other. Without speaking, they began unlocking files that had been sealed for 50 years. In the asteroid belt, miners stopped their work and began converting their equipment. Mining lasers could cut through rock. They could cut through other things too. The Galactic Council, a group of different alien species that tried to keep peace in the galaxy, watched humanity's reaction with growing worry. The Altarian ambassador, a peaceful being made of living crystal, contacted Earth. "We grieve with you for your loss," the ambassador said, "but please do not do anything that cannot be undone. Let the council handle this." President Santos appeared on the screen. Her face showed no emotion at all, which scared the ambassador more than anger would have. "Ambassador, they killed our children. 17 children who were learning about science and art. 3 teachers who died trying to protect them. This was not war. This was murder. We understand, but—" "No," Santos said quietly. "You don't understand. But you will." She cut the communication. Commander Vexthon was celebrating with his officers when he received the report about what they had actually destroyed. For a moment, he felt something that might have been regret. But then he pushed it away. They were future enemies, he told his officers. Better to stop them now than face them later. One of his younger officers, Zekval, looked uncomfortable. "Commander, killing younglings? Even in war, that is considered necessary," Vexthon finished. Humans needed to learn fear. Now they have learned it. But Vexthon was wrong. Humans had not learned fear. They had learned something much more dangerous. As the news spread across human space, something happened that had never happened before. Every human government, every corporation, every group that had ever disagreed about anything, suddenly agreed on one thing. The messages came to Earth from everywhere. From the Mars colony, "We stand as one." From the Europa, "Scientists, our resources are yours," and from the asteroid miners, "Give us targets." From the Jupiter military base, "Awaiting orders." Even from the prisoners, on the penal colony of Pluto, "We are human. We are ready." In her office on Earth, President Santos read each message. Then she sent out a single order to all human space: "Gather, prepare, remember the children." The silence that followed was not empty. It was full of purpose, full of a terrible cold anger that would soon teach the galaxy why humans had tried so hard to be peaceful, not because they were weak, but because they knew what they became when pushed too far. The 17 children of Epsilon 7 were dead. Soon the galaxy would learn what that meant. The lights went out across human space. Every human colony, every ship, every space station, they all went dark at exactly the same time. Communication channels closed. Border stations stopped responding. Trade ships returned to human space without explanation. It was as if humanity had simply disappeared. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Representatives from 50 different species gathered in the Great Hall on Neutral Station 0, a massive structure that floated in empty space between empires. The Altarian ambassador stood at the center, his crystalline body flickering with worry. 3 Earth days, he said. Humanity has been silent for 3 Earth days. No responses to our messages. No explanation. Nothing. The Krellian representative, Subcommander Thalvek, tried to sound confident. "They are scared. They know we are stronger. They are probably planning to surrender." A small furry being from the gentle world spoke up. Her name was Soft Voice, and she had studied humans for many years. "You do not understand humans, Sub-Commander. When humans go quiet, it is not from fear. It is because they are thinking, planning. When humans stop talking, that is when you should be most afraid. Thalavek laughed, a harsh sound like breaking glass. We are the Krellian hegemony. We control 30 systems. What can one species do against us? You killed their younglings, soft voice said simply. In all my studies of humans, I have found one truth that never changes. They will sacrifice anything, endure anything, destroy anything to protect their young. And when their young are harmed, she paused. There are stories, old stories from their home planet. Times when someone harmed their children. The things they did in response were so terrible that they scared themselves. That is why they try so hard to be peaceful now. The council argued for hours. Some wanted to send peace offerings to humanity. Others wanted to prepare defenses. The Krellians insisted there was nothing to worry about. They were wrong. On the morning of the 4th day, humanity spoke. It started with a single message, sent to every communication device in the galaxy at the same time. Not just official channels, every personal device, every screen, every speaker. The message was simple. You have harmed our children. This ends now. Then things began to happen very quickly. Every human working for alien companies resigned at the same moment. They did not give reasons. They just left. Economies across the galaxy suddenly lost millions of skilled workers. Hospitals lost doctors. Ships lost engineers. Schools lost teachers. Human trade ships, which carried 40% of the galaxy's goods, all returned to human space. Trade routes that had taken centuries to build collapsed in a single day. The price of food on some worlds doubled within hours. But that was just the beginning. President Santos stood in the command center deep beneath Earth's surface. Around her were the leaders of every human government appearing on screens. For the first time in human history, they all agreed on everything. Report, she said. General Chen, Sarah's father, spoke first. He had learned about his daughter's death the day after the attack. He had not cried, not yet. There would be time for tears later. Now there was work to do. All military assets have been recalled. Every human soldier, ship, and weapon is now under unified command. We have 17 million active soldiers and another 30 million reserves ready to activate. The Mars factories have been converted, another general reported. We are now producing weapons at maximum capacity. The designs we sealed away, the antimatter bombs, the quantum disruptors, the biological weapons, they are all in production. A scientist from Europa appeared on screen. The AI restrictions have been lifted. The systems we created but never activated are now online. They are already infiltrating Krellian networks. President Santos nodded. And the other project? An old man appeared on the main screen. Dr. Harrison had been working on something in secret for 20 years. Something that violated every treaty humanity had ever signed. The reality engines are ready, he said simply. We can move ships instantly across any distance. We can appear anywhere at any time. Physics says it's impossible, but he shrugged. We found a way around physics. Good, Santos said. Then she turned to another screen. Mr. Zero? A shadow appeared on the screen. Nobody knew Mr. Zero's real name. He ran humanity's intelligence network, the ones who did the things that nobody talked about. We have everything, Mr. Zero said. Every Krellian secret. Every war crime they've committed. Every lie they've told. Their allies don't know that the Krellians have been planning to betray them. They don't know about the genocide the Krellians committed in the outer reaches. But they will. Santos looked at all the faces on the screens. The galaxy thinks we are weak because we choose peace. They think kindness is the same as weakness. They need to learn the truth. We choose peace because we know what we are capable of in war. Begin the demonstration. The demonstration was designed to show the galaxy what humanity could do without actually doing it. Yet, it started with the Krellian economy. Human AI systems, now free from their restrictions, invaded every Krellian financial network. They did not steal money. They just made small changes. A decimal point moved here, a number changed there. Within 6 hours, the Krellian stock market crashed. Their currency became worthless. Their richest citizens woke up poor, and their banks could not explain why. Next came the supply lines. Every Krellian supply ship suddenly developed engine problems at the same time. Not enough to destroy them, just enough to stop them from moving. Food shipments spoiled. Medicine expired. Military supplies never arrived. The problems would fix themselves after exactly 17 days. 1 day for each dead child. Then Mr. Zero released the files. Every species in the galaxy received proof of Krellian crimes. Videos of massacres, documents showing planned betrayals, evidence of lies and broken treaties. The Krellians' own allies began to turn against them. Commander Vexthon, the one who had ordered the attack on Epsilon 7, woke up to find something impossible in his private quarters. A human toy, a small stuffed animal that one of the dead children had loved. It was sitting on his desk with a note. She was 6 years old. Her name was Anna. Nobody could explain how it got there. Vexthon's ship was in the middle of a heavily guarded fleet, but the message was clear. Humans could reach him anywhere at any time. The Galactic Council called another emergency meeting. This time even the Krellians looked worried. "This is terrorism," Thalvek shouted. "They are attacking civilians. They are breaking every rule of war." Soft Voice laughed, surprising everyone because her species rarely showed such emotion. "Rules of war? You killed younglings. You killed teachers. You started this. And look closer, have the humans killed anyone? Even one person? No, they are showing you what they could do. They are giving you a chance to surrender." The Altarian ambassador had been studying the pattern of human actions. "There's something else," he said slowly. "Everything they've done, the economic crash, the supply problems, the released information, it's all reversible. They're not trying to destroy the Krellians. They're trying to make a point." "What point?" Thalvek demanded. President Santos appeared on the council's main screen without warning. Nobody had called her. She had simply taken control of their systems. "The point," she said, her voice calm and cold, "is that we could destroy you without firing a single shot. Your economy is gone because we decided it should be gone. Your ships don't work because we decided they shouldn't work. Your secrets are revealed because we decided the galaxy should know who you really are." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We have weapons that could crack your planets like eggs. We have viruses that could kill only Krellians, leaving everyone else untouched. We have AI that could take control of every system you own. We have ships that can appear in your bedrooms while you sleep. But we haven't used any of them yet. What do you want?" Thalvek asked, and for the first time fear showed in his voice. "Complete surrender," Santos said. "You have 3 solar rotations, 72 hours. Surrender, or we stop being merciful." The screen went dark. Across the galaxy, beings who had thought humans were just another young species trying to find their place suddenly understood the truth. Humans were not weak. They were not naturally peaceful. They were controlled. They kept their darkness locked away by choice. But the Krellians had broken the lock. In human space, preparations continued. Factories produced weapons. Soldiers trained for operations. Scientists finished projects that should have remained theories. And in quiet homes on every human world, parents held their children and looked at pictures of 17 young faces from Epsilon 7. Each face had a name. Anna, who loved to draw. Marcus, who built communication devices. 15 others who would never grow up. 3 teachers who died trying to save them. Humanity remembered each name. And for each name, they prepared a response that would teach the galaxy a simple truth. You do not harm human children. The countdown to the deadline began. 72 hours for the Krellians to surrender, or 72 hours until humanity showed the galaxy why they had tried so hard to avoid war. Admiral Lin Zhang stood on the bridge of humanity's newest warship, the UES Remembrance. The ship was massive, but that was not what made it special. What made it special was hidden inside. Technology that should not exist. Weapons that broke the laws of physics. And a crew that had stopped caring about what was possible. "Admiral, all ships report ready," her second-in-command said. Around them, space itself seemed to bend as hundreds of human ships activated their reality engines. They were about to do something that would change the galaxy forever. "Begin Phase 1, Admiral Zhang ordered. Phase 1 of the human doctrine was simple. Show the galaxy that distance meant nothing to humanity anymore. At exactly the same moment, human ships appeared at every major trade route in the galaxy. Not near them, at them. Ships that had been in Earth orbit 1 second were suddenly thousands of light years away the next. The galaxy's scientists said it was impossible. Humanity did it anyway. The ships did nothing hostile. They just sat there recording everything, showing everyone that humanity could be anywhere instantly. Then, after exactly 17 minutes, 1 for each dead child, they vanished again. Commander Vexthon read the reports with growing fear. His fleet of 700 ships, the pride of the Krellian hegemony, suddenly seemed very small. How? He asked his science officer. How are they doing this? We don't know, Commander. The energy readings are impossible. They're folding space itself, creating doorways between points. It should take the power of a star to do what they're doing with ships the size of... He was interrupted by an alarm. A human ship had appeared inside their defensive perimeter, not outside where the shields and weapons could stop it. Inside, where it should have been impossible to reach, the ship sent one message. Day 2. 24 hours remain. Then it vanished. On Earth, President Santos met with the Council of Admirals. These were humanity's greatest military minds, and they were planning something that had never been done before. The Krellians have taken hostages, General Chen reported. 2,000 human civilians from cargo ships they captured. They think this will protect them. Will it? Santos asked. A woman in a black uniform stood up. Admiral Sarah Knox commanded humanity's special operations. Her people did the impossible every day. No, she said simply. We've been working on something. We call it the Quantum Liberation Protocol. We can pull every hostage out at the same time, from anywhere they're being held, without the Krellians even knowing it's happening until it's done. That's not possible, someone said. Admiral Knox smiled. It was not a nice smile. Yesterday, moving ships instantly across the galaxy was impossible. Today we do it every hour. Possible is just a word for things we haven't done yet. Santos nodded. And the weapons? Dr. Harrison pulled up a display. We've completed construction of the stellar compression device. It can turn any object up to moon size into a black hole that lasts for exactly 3 seconds before evaporating. Long enough to destroy everything nearby, not long enough to damage the star system permanently. We also have the nanoswarm ready, another scientist added. Microscopic machines that can disassemble any Krellian technology at the molecular level. They're programmed to ignore non-Krellian life and dissolve after 72 hours. And the biological option? Santos asked quietly. Everyone in the room went silent. The biological option was the darkest thing humanity had created. A virus that could kill every Krellian in the galaxy in 7 days, but leave every other species untouched. It was genocide in a bottle. Ready but sealed, Dr. Harrison said. It will only be used if they continue to harm human civilians. Santos stood up. Then we continue the demonstration. Show them what awaits if they don't surrender. Admiral Zhang, begin Phase 2. Phase 2 was economic and technological warfare on a scale never seen before. Every Krellian computer system, from military to civilian, suddenly displayed the same message. We are in your systems. We have always been in your systems. Your technology works because we allow it to work. To prove the point, every Krellian vehicle, every ship, every transport, every flying car stopped working for exactly 17 seconds. Then they started again. The message was clear. Humanity could turn off their entire civilization like flicking a light switch. But humanity did more than threaten. They also showed mercy, even in their anger. When a Krellian hospital's power failed due to the economic collapse, human ships appeared with generators and medical supplies. The supplies were delivered by robots with a simple message. Your government harmed our children. You did not. We do not punish the innocent. When Krellian colonies ran out of food because of the broken supply lines, human ships brought emergency rations. Again, the message, your leaders chose war. Your children did not choose to starve. This confused the Krellians and the rest of the galaxy. How could humans be so ruthless and so merciful at the same time? Soft-voiced, the alien scholar who studied humans explained it to the Galactic Council. This is the human paradox, she said. They have the capacity for both infinite cruelty and infinite kindness. They can destroy you utterly, then rebuild you better than before. They can hate with the heat of 1,000 suns and forgive with the gentleness of spring rain. Right now they are showing both sides. They are destroying the Krellian military and government while saving Krellian civilians. This is not weakness. This is choice. They are choosing to be better than their enemies, even while defeating them. Commander Vexthon was no longer confident. Half his fleet had been disabled by what his officers were calling ghost attacks. Human ships appearing, firing once, and vanishing before anyone could respond. His supply bases were empty. His allies had abandoned him. His own people were starting to question his leadership. Commander, his communications officer said, we're receiving a transmission. It's from inside your private quarters. That was impossible. His quarters were sealed, protected by every security measure the Krellians had. But when he rushed there, he found a human woman waiting for him. She was sitting in his chair, calm as if she belonged there. "Hello, Commander Vexton," she said. "My name is Captain Maria Rodriguez. My sister was one of the teachers at Epsilon 7. Mrs. Rodriguez, you killed her." Vexton reached for his weapon, but it was gone. Somehow this human had taken it without him noticing. "I could kill you," Captain Rodriguez said calmly. "I've thought about it. My sister died trying to protect those children. She was brave. She was good. She was the best of us, and you took her away." She stood up, and Vexton saw something in her eyes that terrified him more than any weapon. "But I won't kill you," she continued, "because that's not what she would want. She would want me to be better, to show mercy, to prove that humans are more than our anger. So you get to live, Commander. You get to live with the knowledge that you could die at any moment, that we could end you whenever we choose. But we don't, because we choose to be better than you." She walked past him to the door, then stopped. 12 hours remain, Commander. Surrender, please. Don't make us become the monsters you've awakened. We've worked so hard to lock that part away. Don't make us let it out." Then she was gone. Security footage would later show that she was never there at all. But Vexton knew she had been. The message she left on his desk proved it. A photo of 17 children and 3 teachers smiling at a camera on their last morning alive. In human space, the fleet was ready. Thousands of ships, each carrying weapons that shouldn't exist. Millions of soldiers united by grief and rage. Technology that broke every rule the galaxy thought was absolute. Admiral Zhang looked at the countdown clock. 12 hours. 12 hours for the Krellians to surrender, or 12 hours until humanity showed why they had been holding back. "Admiral," her communications officer said, "we're receiving reports. 17 Krellian colonies have declared independence from the hegemony. They're asking for human protection." It was starting. The Krellian Empire was breaking apart from the inside, not from human attacks, but from fear of what those attacks might become. But Commander Vexton still refused to surrender. His pride, the same pride that had let him murder children, would not let him bend. So humanity prepared for Phase 3. The final phase. The one they hoped they would never have to use. The countdown reached 0. Commander Vexton stood on his bridge, surrounded by what remained of his fleet. His officers were frightened, but he maintained his composure. He had called humanity's bluff. They were too soft, too weak to follow through with their threats. "They won't attack," he told his officers. "They've shown they care too much about innocent lives. They won't." Every star in the visual display suddenly went out. It took a moment for the Krellians to understand what they were seeing. The stars hadn't actually gone out. There was something between them and the stars. Ships. Thousands and thousands of human ships appearing all at once, surrounding the entire Krellian fleet. Admiral Zhang's voice came through every speaker on every Krellian vessel. "You were given 3 days. You chose pride over peace. You chose wrong." What happened next took exactly 18 minutes. The 700 ships of the Krellian fleet, the most powerful military force in their region of space, simply vanished. Not destroyed, not blown up, just gone. One moment they were there, the next they were not. No debris, no energy readings, no trace they had ever existed, except for one ship. Commander Vexton's flagship remained, alone in the suddenly empty space. A human ship approached, the UES Remembrance. It was smaller than the Krellian flagship, but somehow felt more dangerous. It docked without permission, and Commander Vexton could do nothing to stop it. Admiral Zhang walked onto his bridge with a small group of humans. They wore no armor, carried no visible weapons. They didn't need them. "Where is my fleet?" Vexton demanded. "Gone," Zhang said simply. "We moved them. All of them, all at once. They're in pocket dimensions now, little bubbles outside normal space. The crews are alive, frozen in time. They'll stay that way until we decide what to do with them." "That's impossible." "You keep using that word," Zhang said. "I don't think it means what you think it means." She gestured, and a hologram appeared. It showed the Krellian homeworld's fortress moon, a massive military installation considered impregnable, where the Krellian leadership had retreated. It was also where they were holding 2,000 human hostages. "Your leaders have 1 hour to release our people," Zhang said, "or we demonstrate what our stellar compression device can do." Vexthon laughed bitterly. You won't. You care too much about saving lives. You'll never— Commander, Zhang interrupted. Let me explain something to you. We don't want to use these weapons. We've spent decades trying to forget we could build them. But you killed our children. You crossed the one line that turns off our mercy. We will get our people back. The only question is whether your species survives the process. She turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and Commander, we know you have a daughter. She's safe on your homeworld in the capital city. She's 7 years old, the same age as 3 of the children you killed. We know exactly where she is. We could take her right now, the same way you took our children from us. Vexthon's face went pale. But we won't, Zhang continued. Because we're not you. We don't hurt children. Any children. Even the children of monsters. That's the difference between us. Remember that. She left him alone on his empty bridge, surrounded by the space where his fleet used to be. The Krellian leadership was in chaos. Sub-Commander Thalvek had taken command after losing contact with Vexthon's fleet. He stood in the Fortress Moon's command center, refusing to believe what he was seeing. They destroyed our entire fleet? Not destroyed, his science officer corrected. Removed. We don't know how or where to. They're just gone. And the hostages, still in the detention center. Security reports nothing unusual. Thalvek relaxed slightly. As long as they had hostages, the humans wouldn't dare attack the moon. He was wrong. At exactly the 1-hour mark, several things happened simultaneously. First, every single human hostage vanished from their cells. One moment they were there. The next they were standing safely on human ships, pulled through space by technology that shouldn't exist. The Krellians didn't even know they were gone until they checked the empty cells. Second, every weapon on the Fortress Moon stopped working. Not broken, not damaged, they simply wouldn't fire. The trigger mechanisms had been dissolved at the molecular level by invisible nanomachines. Third, a single human appeared in the command center. Not a soldier or an admiral. A child, it was a hologram, but it looked real. A young boy, maybe 10 years old, wearing the uniform of the Epsilon 7 school. My name was Marcus, the hologram said. I like to build things. I wanted to be an engineer when I grew up. I won't get to do that now. The hologram changed. A little girl appeared. My name was Anna. I was 6. I liked to draw pictures of Earth. I never got to see it. Another change. Another child. One by one, all 17 children appeared. Each one introduced themselves. Each one said what they wanted to be when they grew up. Each one reminded the Krellians that they would never get that chance. When the last child faded away, Admiral Zhang appeared. You have 30 minutes to surrender, she said. This is your final warning. Thalvek was terrified but tried to hide it. If you destroy this moon, you'll be no better than us. There are no civilians on that moon, Zhang replied. We've scanned it. Military personnel only, and we're not going to destroy it. We're going to transform it. You'll see. The countdown began. 29 minutes. 28 minutes. On Earth, President Santos stood with the families of the Epsilon 7 victims. They were watching the events unfold together. One mother held a picture of her daughter, Anna, the little girl who loved to draw. Will it bring them back? She asked quietly. All this violence, will it bring our babies back? No, Santos said gently. Nothing will bring them back. But we can make sure it never happens again. We can show the galaxy that human children are off limits, that taking them from us has consequences. I don't want more children to die, Anna's mother said. Not even their children. Neither do we, Santos replied. That's why we're doing this. To end it now completely so it never happens again. 10 minutes remained. Sub-Commander Thalvek was sweating, something Krellians rarely did. His officers were begging him to surrender. Reports were coming in from across Krellian space. Colonies declaring independence, citizens demanding peace, soldiers refusing to fight. Sir, his communications officer said, we're receiving a message from the homeworld. It's from your son. The message was simple. Father, please surrender. The humans could kill us all, but they're choosing not to. They saved our colonies when they were starving. They're not monsters. We were the monsters. Please, Father, choose life. 5 minutes. Thalvek looked around his command center. These were good soldiers following orders. They didn't deserve to die for the pride of their leaders. 4 minutes. He thought about the human children. 17 young lives ended for nothing. For pride. For a show of strength that had only revealed weakness. 3 minutes. The human ships around the moon began to glow. Whatever weapon they were preparing, it would fire soon. 2 minutes, sir, an officer shouted. Human ships are appearing at every Krellian colony. Thousands of them. They're not attacking. They're broadcasting something. On the screens, they could see it. The human ships were showing images of children, human and Krellian children playing together on worlds where both species lived. The message was clear. This is what could be if you choose peace. 1 minute. Thalvek closed his eyes. He thought of his son. He thought of the 17 dead children. He thought of the choice between pride and survival. 30 seconds. Communications, he said quietly. Open a channel to the human fleet. 20 seconds. This is Subcommander Thalvek of the Krellian hegemony. 10 seconds. 5 seconds. We surrender. Unconditionally, completely. Please, have mercy. 3 seconds. 2 seconds. 1 second. The glow around the human ships faded. Admiral Zhang appeared on the screen again. Surrender accepted. Stand down all remaining weapons. Prepare to receive boarding parties. Any resistance will result in the immediate use of the stellar compression device. Then something unexpected happened. The fortress moon began to change. Not destroyed, but transformed. The nanomachines that had disabled the weapons were now rebuilding them, turning weapons into something else. The massive cannons became observatory telescopes. The missile silos became gardens. The barracks became classrooms. In 3 hours, the entire moon had been transformed from a fortress into something else. A school. The largest school in the galaxy, with room for millions of students from every species. This moon was built for war, Admiral Zhang announced to the galaxy. Now it will serve peace. It will be a place where children of all species can learn together. Where the next generation can be better than we were. It will be called the Epsilon 7 Memorial Academy. 17 buildings. 1 for each child you took from us. The transformation was complete, but humanity was not done. Every Krellian military installation across 30 systems underwent the same change. Weapons became tools. Warships became transports. Military bases became schools and hospitals. The Krellian hegemony, which had ruled through force for 1,000 years, no longer had the ability to make war. They had not been destroyed. They had been changed. And the galaxy watched in awe and terror as humanity showed what happened to those who harmed their children. 6 months had passed since the surrender. The galaxy was different now. Not just because the Krellian hegemony no longer existed as a military power, but because everyone understood what humans were capable of. The young species they had dismissed as weak had revealed themselves as possibly the most dangerous race in known space. But they had also revealed something else. Captain Maria Rodriguez, the woman who had appeared in Commander Vexthon's quarters, now served as a teacher at the Epsilon 7 Memorial Academy. The fortress moon had been completely transformed, and thousands of students from dozens of species attended classes there, including Krellian children. This had shocked everyone, especially the Krellians themselves. They had expected slavery, occupation, perhaps even genocide. Instead, humanity had done something nobody could have predicted. They had chosen forgiveness. Not for the leaders. Commander Vexthon and the other military commanders were serving life sentences for war crimes. But for the Krellian people, especially the children, humanity offered a second chance. Maria stood in her classroom, the same kind of room where her sister had died. But instead of just human children, her students came from everywhere. There was a young Altarian shimmering like living crystal, a furry being from the gentle worlds, and in the front row, trying to make herself small, was a young Krellian named Zara. Zara was Commander Vexithon's daughter. When Maria had first seen the name on her student list, she had felt her heart stop. The daughter of the being who killed her sister would be in her class. She could have refused. Nobody would have blamed her, but she remembered her sister's last words reported by a survivor. Protect the children, all children. So Maria had accepted Zara into her class. The first day had been hard. Looking at the young Krellian, knowing who her father was, had filled Maria with anger she thought she had overcome. But then Zara had spoken, in a small, frightened voice. I'm sorry about your sister. I'm sorry about everything. and Maria had seen not the daughter of a monster but a scared child who had done nothing wrong. Now 6 months later, Zara was one of her best students. She worked hard, helped others, and showed a kindness that her father had never possessed. She was proof that the children could be better than their parents. President Santos visited the academy often. She was there today, walking through the gardens that had once been missile silos, watching children of all species play together. General Chen walked beside her. He came here every week to visit the memorial to his daughter Sarah and the other teachers who had died. Any regrets? Santos asked him. No, Chen said quietly. We did what we had to do. We showed strength when we needed to, mercy when we could. Sarah would be proud. They stopped at the memorial. 17 statues of children and 3 of teachers, made from crystal that caught and held light. Each statue showed the person as they had been in life. Marcus with his tools, Anna with her drawings, Sarah Chen with her arms spread wide as if protecting her students. A small figure approached the memorial. It was Zara, carrying a bouquet of flowers from the academy's garden. She placed them carefully at the base of Anna's statue. Why that one? Santos asked gently. Zara looked up, surprised to see the human president. But she answered honestly, because she was the youngest. Because she liked to draw and I liked to draw too, because my father took away her chance to grow up, and I want her to know that I'll try to be good enough for both of us. Chen knelt down to Zara's level. You don't have to carry your father's guilt, child. You are not him. I know, Zara said, but I carry his name, and I want that name to mean something better. Teacher Maria says we can choose who we become. I choose to be someone who protects children, not someone who hurts them. That evening, the Galactic Council met for a special session. They were voting on something unprecedented, the Children's Protocol, a new galactic law proposed by humanity. The law was simple. Any attack on children of any species would trigger automatic human intervention. Humanity would become the guardians of all children everywhere. Some species worried this would give humans too much power. But Soft Voice, the scholar who had studied humans, spoke for many. Look what they did with absolute power over the Krellians. They could have destroyed them. Instead, they transformed them. They turned weapons into schools. They took the children of their enemies and educated them alongside their own. They showed mercy when they had every right to show none. If we must have a guardian for our children, I can think of no better choice. The vote was unanimous. The Children's Protocol became galactic law. Commander Vexthon watched the vote from his prison cell. He was not in a dark dungeon or a torture chamber. He was in a clean, simple room where he spent his days writing. The humans had given him a task, to write down every military action he had ever taken, every order he had given, so future generations could learn from his mistakes. He had resisted at first, but eventually he began to write. And as he wrote, he began to understand the weight of what he had done, not just at Epsilon 7 but throughout his career. The lives he had ended, the families he had destroyed, the children who had grown up without parents because of his orders. A guard brought him his meal and a letter. The guard was human, but he was not cruel. He was professional, even polite. This had confused Vexthon at first. He had expected torture, abuse, revenge. Instead, he was treated with cold civility. The letter was from his daughter. She wrote to him every week, telling him about her studies at the academy. She told him about teacher Maria, who was kind despite having every reason to hate her. She told him about her human friends who had accepted her once they got to know her. She told him about learning human history, including the dark parts, the wars they had fought among themselves, the times they had nearly destroyed their own world, and how they had chosen to become better. Father, she wrote, the humans have a saying that we are not our worst moment. They believe everyone can change, can become better. They are giving me that chance. I hope someday you can take it too. Vexthon put down the letter and continued writing his confession. For the first time, he wrote not because he was ordered to, but because he wanted to. He wanted future Krellians to understand the cost of pride, the price of choosing violence over peace. 1 year after the attack on Epsilon 7, humanity did something that surprised the galaxy once again. They gave back the Krellian fleet. All 700 ships that had vanished were returned, along with their crews who had been held in stasis. But the ships were different. The weapons were gone. replaced with scientific equipment, medical facilities, and communication arrays. The warships had become exploration vessels and hospital ships. Admiral Zhang stood before the returned Krellian crews. Many of them had expected to die. Instead, they were going home. "You were soldiers following orders," she said. "We hold no grudge against you. But you will never be soldiers again. These ships are now yours to use for peaceful purposes only. Explore the galaxy, help colonies in need, discover new worlds, show the universe that Krellians can be more than conquerors." One of the Krellian officers, young Zekval, who had questioned the attack on children, stepped forward. "Why show us mercy? We wouldn't have shown you any." "That's exactly why," Zhang replied. "Because someone has to be better. Someone has to break the cycle of vengeance. We choose to be that someone. Not because you deserve it, but because our children deserve a universe where mercy is possible." The Krellian crews returned home to a changed society. Without the ability to make war, they had been forced to find other ways to resolve conflicts. Their economy, rebuilt with human help, was now based on trade and innovation rather than conquest. Their children were learning alongside humans and other species at the Epsilon 7 Academy and dozens of other new schools. It wasn't perfect. There were Krellians who resented the humans who wanted their old power back, but they were a minority, growing smaller as the younger generation grew up in a universe where cooperation worked better than conquest. 5 years passed. Zara had grown into a young adult, one of the first graduates of the Epsilon 7 Academy. She stood at a podium giving a speech to the new class of students. Behind her were her fellow graduates, humans, Krellians, Altarians, and a dozen other species. "We are the children of tragedy," she said. "We exist because 17 children and 3 teachers died. Their deaths brought our species together in a way that centuries of diplomacy couldn't. We cannot bring them back, but we can honor them by being better than those who came before us." She looked at Maria Rodriguez, who sat in the front row, tears in her eyes. "We learned from the best teachers in the galaxy. They taught us that strength and mercy are not opposites, but partners. That forgiveness is not weakness, but the ultimate power. That choosing peace is harder than choosing war, but infinitely more rewarding." In the audience, Commander Vexthon watched through a video link from his prison. He was older now, broken by the weight of his guilt. But in his daughter's words, he heard something he thought he would never feel again. Hope. Not for himself, he knew he could never undo what he had done. But for the future, for a galaxy where his crimes would never be repeated. President Santos, now older but still strong, stood to speak. "The children of Epsilon 7 did not die in vain.